I honestly could not believe I was booting up Dead Island 2 when I got the game last week. It was announced back in 2014, that's almost 10 years of waiting to play the sequel to one of my most beloved PS3 games. Dead Island 2 has a lot to live up to, and thankfully as a sequel it delivers what you would expect from it. There's lots of zombie bashing, some cool weapons to collect to bash even more zombies with, and the Los Angeles setting is fun to adventure through. Given its LA setting, Dead Island 2 also comes with all the ups and downs of the area too. The rich and famous are now walking through the streets as the undead, and even the meth addicts stumble through the neighborhoods not much better off than before. The people I met along the way were all somewhat memorable thanks to a fleshed out quest system and dialogue that dove deeper into their lives.
Get away from this house, you
Ray, what are you doing? Give me the gun!
No! You have been bitten!
Similar to the first game, Dead Island 2 puts you in the shoes of a slayer who is immune to the zombie plague. As a result, they set off to escape LA, but things go south very fast and you end up running errands for the snobs, the survivors, and even the military in the area. There's an overarching story involved in Dead Island 2 which I won't spoil, but I will discuss some issues I had with it later on. With that in mind, Dead Island 2 follows a similar hub approach to the original game too. As I progress the main story, I travel to a number of new areas. Each area is based on an authentic place in LA. They also came with new side quests to take on, people to meet, locations to explore, and zombies to bash. If anything, these areas are wonderfully designed. I have been to LA a few times and I kind of missed it while exploring the beach of Santa Monica Pier. Dambuster did an excellent job bringing these hubs to life and every detail is on point. Given the whole end of the world situation, these areas are also littered with zombies, environmental hazards, and hidden items. Dead Island 2 wants you to use every gas canister, water bottle, acid barrier, and electric wire to take down the hordes across the game. Not only did it feel great to toss a water bottle at zombies who were standing near a damaged street pole, but watching gas canisters blow them apart like bags of flour made every trip through the sewers worthwhile. Even after I finished the main game and I went back to clean up some quests, the combat in Dead Island 2 was just as satisfying as it was 20 hours before. Be it swinging a mallet around with a blast modifier that shot zombies into the distance, or simply firing my hunting rifle at a crusher as it slowly crept towards me. There are so many cool ways to approach each encounter in Dead Island 2, and I would often get distracted by killing countless zombies. I would forget what I was doing in the first place. These moments make Dead Island 2 an incredible action game. To spend 10 minutes completely going bonkers with every weapon and every environmental hazard, and of course the dropkick feature, felt fantastic. After which the floor was covered in organs, bones and blood, and I would walk away feeling a little bit less stressed than I was before. Dead Island 2 from an action point of view excels thanks to its gruesome gore system that sees zombie flesh literally fall off the bone as I rip their skin away. Their eyeballs pop out and dangle around their face when their heads are cleaved apart with a machete. There was something weirdly satisfying about watching flesh disintegrate off a zombie as I shot it with the acid round. If you wanted to completely decimate zombies, Dead Island 2 is the best way to do it. The weapon system works too. Everything can break and once broken can be fixed. So once I obtained a set of weapons I enjoyed using, I could then use them without worrying about losing them. They could then be leveled up to my level with a heavy cost, so I was able to take them with me throughout the game. Weapons are then modded with various buffs and effects. Electricity adds sparks to the weapon and shocks zombies. Fire burns them and the acid damages them over time. These mods change the visual appearance of the weapons too. Perks then further enhance weapons with damage buffs and certain types of attack styles. For example, Bloodthirsty grants a damage boost and Fury added to the gauge after every zombie kill. The others increase attack speed while decreasing damage.
Really appreciate it.
There's a lot of freedom to craft weapons that work with your playstyle. Some zombies are also immune to certain elements, so you're forced to make weapon types to counter them all. The Slayer skills are a whole other ballgame. The 6 Slayers all come with certain cards that offer various tweaks to the game combat. Ryan, for example, is focused on force boost when blocking and knocking down enemies, so it made sense to build him with more cards that grant health regen with blocking and fury too. So when I blocked, I got my health back, fury added to my bar, and my force attacks from my weapons dealt some insane damage. I do have to say that while the Slayer skill system is fun to experiment with, I did feel like it was a bit shallow. Slayers don't feel unique enough to tell them apart from one another. Apart from a handful of cards which you don't actually have to use, I can't see myself creating more than 2 characters because they're just so much the same. It would have been nice to have each Slayer locked into a certain attack or ability instead of just forcing them into a buff box. They revolve around doing the same thing, just some of them do that one thing better than others. This is a shame given how much replayability a decent class system would have had in Dead Island 2. One Slayer just feels like enough to experience this game with. It also doesn't help that Dead Island 2 doesn't have any sort of New Game Plus mode or in fact any sort of difficulty adjustments at all. So once the game ended, I finished some side quests, got some awesome legendary weapons and had nothing to use them on. The game could have greatly benefited from a New Game Plus or perhaps a higher difficulty tier which increased the drop rate for loot but made zombies more difficult. Having cool weapons which you mostly get after the game ends is pointless if you have nothing to use them on. I also need to complain about the general story in Dead Island 2. The game spends a lot of time building up some rather interesting plot points only for it just to end without fleshing anything out. In fact, the game just ends on a cliffhanger, and that's it. It takes about 15 hours to tell a fraction of its story and then the credits roll. We have only waited 10 years for what seems like a slice of the pie, and it kind of feels like a slap in the face to a certain degree. Sure, there is an expansion pass for Dead Island 2, but I can't see an expansion being sufficient enough to flesh the story out. The overall plot, without giving anything away, feels much bigger than a DLC. But the unfinished story is a problem that much of Dead Island 2 faces. Mostly everything in the game feels cut short to some degree. Some of the areas even last for less than an hour before moving on. Sure, some side quests pad these, but I can't help but feel that the meat on offer in Dead Island 2 is just a big bone without much flesh on the outside. The card system is underwhelming, the Slayers don't feel diverse enough, the story is short and abruptly ends, and the game's lack of New Game Plus and high difficulty mode means that once you've finished everything, which takes about 25 hours, you're done. But that aside, Dead Island 2 was a fun time. Up until the end, I did love it. The quests felt both weird and wonderful, and the combat plays true to the original game. This is a sequel and it definitely delivers on most of its promises, but I just wish there was a bit more here to enjoy. After 20 hours, there's nothing really to go back for, and all those epic weapons I have are just gonna gather dust. So those are my thoughts on Dead Island 2. Are you looking to pick this game up? Let me know in the comments down below. As usual, thanks for watching and please do consider liking and subscribing for more future content like this. Also visit www.glitchedonline for more gaming tech news and reviews. Until next time, farewell.